he just looked like he looked beat up, obviously, and he is. He's definitely beat up. But to see him try to play that third round in that wind and that rain, and then they called it, I didn't think he was going to make it back out. Just too much for his body to take to go up and down those hills.
I still think he's going to win another Masters before he's done.
And welcome to this week's edition of the 941 Sports Zone, powered and brought to you by Vibrant Aspect Media. I'm Jon Mussone here with my co-host Mussone Peacock, and we're broadcasting to you from Douglas Jeep in South Venice. We're happy to be here as we are every week, and we appreciate them being our host for the 941 Sports Zone.
Yeah, we got. I think we got to start off by talking about you pick the winner. Our first pick hit, Rahm.
Jon Rahm, yes. Yep. So that was a. I felt pretty confident about my pick only because the guy has just been gearing up for it seems like about 2 or 3 years where he's been gaining his game at that apex, and you could see it coming. And I thought with the first major and how he had played early in the year that he was I wouldn't. There's never a lock.
So let me ask you this:
good.
the second place was a tie.
Mm-hmm, correct.
But so they both got second.
So what happens is they take the second and third place winnings,
right?
Put them together and split it.
All right. So I was just wondering why they put what's his face's name in front of
Mickelson.
Yeah.
What happens is that normally how it works is when however if you finish,
whoever finishes first.
Then even though with this they're still the same, and sometimes depending on who's doing the broadcasting, they might go alphabetically, or they might go with the bigger star.
Well, I caught myself rooting, not only rooting because you picked and we had to hit first,
right?
But also the second place guys were LIV guys, right?
Between Phil Mickelson and then it was Brooks Koepka, and then we had another guy who was Patrick Reed, who's also a LIV guy. So there were three intertwined and all that. There were PGA guys and LIV guys in the top six. Let's just say.
Right. So I mean, I found myself rooting just for Rahm because he was a PGA guy.
Right.
And just hoping that, the LIV guys didn't win. So.
Right. And but I will say this that, and we'll get into this more later on. But the LIV guys, I think they have been sort of I would say maybe struggling in their consistency in regards to what they're doing on the LIV tour, especially Phil Mickelson. I guess that's the point. I mean, I don't think he's had a round of golf in below the 70s in weeks, maybe months on the LIV tour, and he went out and shot a 65 on Sunday, which is, I mean, that's super low on a Sunday, especially on that course with the conditions the way they were with the wind. But 65, and it's the lowest score ever shot by oldest guy ever shoot 65 at the Masters. And,
really?
And so he did some stuff that was just not to be seen. You could maybe have seen Koepka. He had won the week before. And again, he's a younger guy, and he seems to have that pedigree to want to perform in those big tournaments. But Phil was just out of nowhere, and you could see that it meant a little something to him. He didn't gloat. He didn't act the fool or anything like that. He just sort of took his bow and went away and showed him what he could do.
They put the fake bird noises on the social media too. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they might have microphones in the trees, and they have everything possible to make every noise come in.
They put the fake bird noises in.
Exactly.
There was no birds out the day it was raining, but you heard them.
Oh yeah. And you also heard a couple big 3 trees fall down on the 17th tee. I don't know if you saw that footage at all.
No.
Yeah, the day that I want to say it was day 1 when they postponed, or 2, I can't remember. But early on, there was a heavy windstorm, and they had some saturated grounds, and 3 big pine trees came down right in front of the 17th tee box, and people were scrambling. And there's a shot of a person where they were standing amongst the trees as they fell down around them.
Oh,
so
wow.
Real lucky person in that situation. And of course they had to stop the tournament at that point because they were concerned with the idea there might be some more trees falling down, right, especially with the wind the way it was. Well, with that, Coach, let's go local and get started on our show with our local segment right here. And we're going to start off talking about the district tournaments that are coming up locally in our 941 area code. We've got the district championship tournaments coming up for both girls and boys tennis and girls and boys lacrosse. Tennis, obviously, something that we know a little bit about, obviously, and it's been around for as a high school sport for a while. Lacrosse, not so much because it's been more of a regional sport,
Right.
very popular in the Northeast, and now it's made its way down here, and it's become it was a club sport, but now it is a regular high school sport.
Only 2 classes in the state for lacrosse, because I'm not
Correct.
sure. Not all the schools are playing it yet.
No, and I think that's because it's just a matter of getting the facilities and the players,
Right.
the player interest in it, because it's, like I said, it's a club sport. I think you see that hasn't filtered down to every school at this
Right.
point. So with that, we're going to go ahead and kind of run through a little bit of starting with the girls and boys tennis tournaments and the districts and where they're going to be playing. Starting in Class 4A, District 8 will be played at Venice High School.
Yeah, I saw Wayne this morning.
What do you have to say? That's Coach Robertson, the head coach.
I said, so we got this locked up, right? We're 18-0 with the boys, and he said, well, not necessarily. They had, I guess, Gulf Coast has a ringer. He
Okay.
said they got a ringer that's going to mess up some things, and it's going to be a battle, I guess. So I guess we'll see how that pans out. It's a 2-day event, so it's just today and tomorrow.
And he had told me they won the state championship a few years ago, and he had said how having a good doubles team as well really helps them as far as getting to the team competition. So with that, the district, the Class 4A District 8, Venice, Lakewood Ranch, Northport, Riverview, and Sarasota are the local teams involved. I think you have the rest of the district on your paper there.
I have the boys lacrosse.
Oh, okay, no problem. And then, but that's at Venice High School, and that'll be starting.
The start of this morning.
This morning, yeah. Started this morning, which is Tuesday. And then, of course, Class 3A, District 9, they had not come up with their site just yet, but those local teams in that district are Manatee and Palmetto. Then you have Class 3A, District 11, boys at Cape Coral. And then the girls, District 11, will be at Charlotte. The schools involved with that are local are Braden River, Charlotte, Parish Community, and Southeast. 2A District 11 boys at Lemon Bay for their tournament, and then the girls will be at the Inglewood Recreation Center, which I think is just a little north of the school. Those schools involved in that from that district championship tournament is Bayshore, Booker, Lemon Bay, Port Charlotte. And then finally in tennis, Class 1A District 11 will be hosted at St. Stephen's. And the schools in that tournament will be Bradenton Christian, Cardinal Mooney, ODA, Sarasota Christian, and St. Stephen's. And so those are your tournaments. And if you can get out and visit and go see what's going on at those locations, by all means do that and root on our local teams to see where they can get there.
There was quite a bit of people there today when actually just coming here on the way here. There was quite a bit of people watching the tournament at Venice.
And that's good. And it's actually when you're pulling into the school, it's a nice little spot. You can see it's really out there when you first drive in, so it's really hard to miss. So at Venice especially, you can get a good view of what's going on in that district tournament. Now we'll go to girls and boys lacrosse, starting with the boys 2A. Now we did mention there's only 2 classifications.
Right.
2A and 1A classification. Again, not as many schools. There's a lot of independents, I think, because they're not able to put a district together. So I think I don't know how they work that as far as the independents are concerned. There's a ranking system, but I do know that they do have the district set up with Class 2A District 11, which for local teams is Lakewood Ranch, Manatee, and Sarasota.
Right. And
then 2A District 12, Riverview, and Venice. And I think you have some records and some.
Yeah, the big district is Riverview and Venice are on that, and Venice is sitting at 3-10. They're playing Riverdale, who's 7-4 tonight at Riverdale. It's just Tuesday. Riverview, who's traditionally been good, they're 6-9 this year. That was a little surprising. I thought they had a little bit better record, but I guess the favorite in that district is Gulf Coast to win that district. And then you have the next district, which is Cardinal Mooney Outdoor and St. Stephen's and Port Charlotte, but Port Charlotte didn't have any games, so I'm guessing they didn't field a team.
Right.
But I guess the 2 top-ranked teams in the state from our area are St. Stephen's and Cardinal Mooney, so that should be a pretty good matchup when they do face each other.
They had from the state perspective, they had Mooney at number 16 and St. Stephen's at number 28 overall in the state. So that they're both the two higher ones. That should be a showdown in their district.
Yeah, so those three districts, I'm gonna go ahead and make up some picks for the winners of those districts. I'm gonna go with Gulf Coast for one district champ. I'm gonna go with Cardamooney with the other district champ, and I'm gonna go with Palm Harbor and the third district champ.
Awesome. That we'll note and see where it comes
it'll
from.
be hard to bet on those. I don't know who's going to pick up those games, but that's who we're going to go with.
Yeah, and I said
you might have to go to the game to actually bet on them with somebody at the game. Yeah,
50 cents.
Yeah,
one of those things, or a soda at the local soda shop afterwards. No doubt about that. And then as far as for the girls are concerned, District 2, Class A District 11. Is Lakewood Ranch, Manatee, Riverview, Sarasota, and Venice. So all those that makes up the whole district.
I think Venice is not in. They're not entering the playoffs.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But they were listed as far as the district, and then Class 1A District 10 is Cardamooney, ODA, Manatee, and Riverview. Cardamooney, ODA, and the two highest ranked girls teams in the area were Manatee and Riverview, somewhere in the top 50. Is where they fell.
Typically, Riverview's been good in both of those lacrosse. So they were one of the first ones to start up in our area. Right.
Yeah, no, because I remember when it was going from club league. I think they were the first team to actually come up and became a team that was competing, Tampa schools and whatnot. So if you have time and you're a lacrosse fan, tennis fan, or just a fan of high school sports, please head out to root your team on and support, especially lacrosse with being a relatively new sport. It's nice to have a little fan base and get that started and get them working towards their goals and what they want to do as far as competing. And it is probably, outside of pickleball, it might be one of the most fast growing sports in the area.
I've been wanting to play pickleball. I'm gonna try to. We
are going to have a pickleball conversation sometime in the next couple weeks.
I think I want to get in a league this summer.
It's so everybody and it's kind of weird. You think somebody would say, I don't like it. Everybody who plays it, I'm talking young and old, they fall in love with pickleball. We have a pickleball expert right in this room right now.
Who?
Josh.
He's a pickleball player.
Josh from Vibrant Aspect Media. He is a pickleball guy. So he's the guy. When I said we're going to have a conversation.
So is he a doubles player or is he a singles player?
Are you doubles, singles? He does both. So there you go. So, I mean, and I'm telling you, I've got friends who just picked up some paddles not long ago, and they were like, I'm playing. It's something I want to do.
Yeah. We played in PE class.
Okay.
We got I think we got like 10 nets, and they get to play in PE class. So
the one thing that I find, I know this is kind of offshoot, but with pickleball, but I think I find, that the ball is not sort of like with tennis, big court. They're all over the place. You're chasing them down. Looks like it's a little more compact as far as that's concerned. One thing I was told when an instructor was giving out sort of lessons. They said, don't be too overly aggressive trying to dive for the ball or things like that, because this usually lend itself to a good shot or your injuries that are coming from people being overly aggressive diving for the ball. So we will have a longer segment at some point about pickleball. Transitioning back to our local upcoming events. Looked up something the other day and I saw that former Venice High School player, quarterback Hayden Wolf, and his brother Wes Wolf are having their Wolf Elite Football Camp, which will be on May 13th, running from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. At Letson Stadium, which is the Well Field complex. And that'll be for groups of ages from 8 to 16. And as far as the flyer I saw, there's going to be quite a few ex-Venice High School football players who are going to be there to help counsel and help kids with their football skills. Yeah,
that's great that they're doing that, and for the kids, obviously, get a chance to see the kids playing in college. That's awesome that they're doing that. And also, Hayden just today called me, and he's entering the portal,
which is it seems to be
right
now
after spring. I guess they got a new offensive coordinator at ODU, and it came from Fordham, and he brought his quarterback with him, and I guess they told Hayden that they're going to be going with the other guy. Hayden's a 2-year starter at ODU, and so he's going to enter the portal.
And we had mentioned about how he physically has transformed over the past 3 years.
He's huge. Yeah, he's really done a nice job with his body, and he's just he was big in high school, but he's you can tell he's been in the weight room, and he's a very physical person.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I think he's going to peak. I think he was at ODU. I think it was a good choice for him to go there. He actually got a lot of playing time. But the other thing is now that he's matured physically and probably as a player as well.
Well, 2 years ago they were 1-5, and then they made him the starter, and he reeled off 5 wins in a row and got him into a bowl game.
Yeah, no, and extended. He sets up. I mean, as far as a guy, as a passer, as a thrower. I mean, as talented as we've seen in this area in years. I mean, he was that guy for sure. So if anybody's interested, obviously there's flyers on. I see it on Facebook. I've seen it all over the place. So if you were interested, please by all means sign up, and you'll have a good time, and you'll learn a little something. I'm sure of that. Also, one thing I wanted to bring up as well: the Venice Little League is wrapping up their seasons relatively soon, and with that, they're going to have a golf tournament Saturday, May 6th at Welland Park Golf and Country Club. Entry fee is $125 per person and $425 for a foursome. So if you guys are interested in the area and you're golfers and you're looking to support another local organization, the Venice Little League is looking to raise some money, and we're always in support of anybody who's looking to try to advance their narrative a little bit and get themselves a little more financially secure. So if that's the case, you guys can go out and help them, and then of course the Wolf Elite Football Camp as well.
And 125. That's not too far off just going out and playing golf right now.
Well, that's one thing. So, what's bugging me kind of thing. That's you're gonna hear something about that.
That's bugging you.
It's bugging me
because you like to play golf. I don't play golf.
There's a little bit more to it than just that part of it, but it's what's bugging me this week. So you're gonna hear a little bit about the 125. So with that, we'll take a quick break and come back and start our talk about our state segment, where we kind of delve into some things that are happening in the state of Florida in the sports world. With that, we'll take a break and be back here at Douglas Jeep with our next segment.
It's time to put some spring in your step during Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram Spring Sell-Down event. Drive a new Jeep Grand Cherokee from only $279 per month during the Jeep Celebration event. Or choose a new Wagoneer from $549 per month. Or get behind the wheel of a new Ram 1500 Quad Cab from only $359 per month during the Ram Truck Month. Don't miss the Spring Sell-Down sales event going on now at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice. Who has Spring Sell-Down savings? Douglas does!
And welcome back to Douglas Jeep and the 941 Sports Zone. Again, I'm Jon Mussone here with Mussone Peacock, and we're going right into our state segment. And Coach, we had the segment itself last week was when the state had a little bit to do with the Tampa Bay Rays and what was baseball season starting, and we were sitting here talking about how that they always kind of put something together, and they're in the division with the Yankees and the Red Sox and whatnot. And here we are sitting here today. Tampa Bay Rays are now 10-0 as of last night's 1-0 victory over the Red Sox. And they are
3 games from the record, right?
Yes, they are 3 games from the record, which is 13-0. And
who has that?
It goes back to, I think I want to say it was the Braves, if I'm not mistaken. But I think there's a few teams that are at 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think there's a few. By the way, the 9-0, 10-0 starters, the first team in 20 years to do that. I think it was the 03 Royals that did it 20 years ago. And the start itself is historic in every sense of the word. I mean, what they're doing from everything from margin of victory, runs scored, all the different things.
How did the 03 Royals end up?
Every one of the teams that's had this kind of a start had gone on to make the playoffs. Not win the championship per se, but that went on and did something like that. So it's a pretty cool thing for the Rays. And getting back to what we're saying, they are so as of Monday they were 9-0, but now they're 10-0, and their records they are breaking are margin of victory 6.3 runs per game. That's the average of margin of victory they're winning by in a baseball game.
That's pretty impressive.
Well, in football, you go watch the NFL, and 3 points is something. Runs scored. They've scored 75 runs and only allowed 18. That is the best statistical situation since 1884. Nobody has done that well as far as runs scored and runs allowed since 1884. They've hit 24 home runs, which lead the league. Add one more to that from last night, make it 25. And their starting rotation Currently has a 1.9 ERA with 60 strikeouts and 52 innings. That's just
When's
the
the next
starters.
game?
Tonight.
Who do they play tonight?
Red Sox. They have a 3-game series with the Red Sox, 3 in a row with the Red Sox. So we're this is Tuesday night, so they'll be
Are they home?
they're home. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've been, and a lot of what was being said about them was that, early on the schedule was easy. Look, sometimes the schedule can be easy. It doesn't mean you can go out there and just roll.
So who's pitching tonight? You know.
So I don't know who's pitching tonight, but I will tell you that the starting pitching staff, with the two lead dogs on that pitching staff with Josh Springs and Drew Rasmussen, they've both gone 2-0 with. Springs has gone 13 innings and given up no runs with 19 strikeouts as a starting pitcher. And Rasmussen's is exactly the same, except he's only had 15 strikeouts. You've also got the other starters of Shane McClanahan and Zach Elfin. And McClanahan's been around a little bit. He's been a stalwart. But again, they're putting it together. The starting pitching is doing so well that they really haven't had even a chance yet at a save until last night. So no saves at all, which usually every game you can almost have a save with a pitching staff, and their bullpen perennially has always been great. So what they're doing right now, irregardless of the schedule they've played, is historic at this point. And they a little bit of that also. People are talking about the pitching, but actually, they've got a lineup now. I want to say it was Alex Cora, the manager for the Red Sox, basically came out and said, "Look, you can talk about the pitching all you want, but they got a lineup now of all guys who can hit the casing off the ball.
Right.
They can do it. Notable players, obviously, in the lineup. One guy that's signed for a long time with the Rays and looks like he could be an MVP candidate for a lot of times is Juan Franco.
Right. Yeah. He now how many years has he been in the majors?
This is only his second year.
Right. So last year he was a rookie.
He was.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So,
He got called up.
Yeah, he's been called up, but officially last year was his rookie year.
Was his year. Few little injuries here and there, but he did show what he's capable of.
And he's really young too.
Very young.
Because I think when he was getting called up, when he was originally getting called up, he was like 19 years old.
That's right. So he's very early 20s. And he's the 5-tool guy.
I mean, they've been talking about him for quite some time.
Well, he was the prospect that they said who was untouchable in any trade situation, and they had actually had a few guys that were pretty good shortstops. Willie Adames being the last guy in front of him when they traded away to the Brewers and got some capital for him, because Wander Franco was just that guy. So far this year, as of Monday, he had a .351 average with 4 home runs. And then his running mate right now, equally as talented, starred heavily for the Mexican team in the World Baseball Classic, Randy Arozarena, who in the 2 years prior in the World Series was a star in that situation. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, he had 11 hits, and he was just amazing. Right now he's hitting .371 with 11 RBIs and 13 hits. Josh Lowe, a guy who's been up and down a little bit with the team. An outfielder for them, batting .364, and the other low, or one's low and one's low. I think Josh is low and Brandon is low, but Brandon Lau is his on base percentage currently is .464, which means every time he goes to the plate,
that's crazy.
Half the time he's on base. Along with that whole lineup, the Rays they've always been about pitching and defense. They've always been about pitching and defense. And now you've got a team that can do pitch, hit, and field, and do everything else you want from them. And you just look at that and you say, okay, that's a tough recipe to beat. I don't care how much money the Yankees throw at other players, or the Red Sox, or the Blue Jays, or whoever else you want to throw out there in the American League. I think it's going to be a tough road to get.
So no one's been 14-0.
That is everything I've read, that is the case. Yeah, 14-0 has never been.
I mean, because there's not too many baseball records that are getting broken.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing baseball for so long, and the games have changed so much.
Well, and a lot of that is just due with the platooning of players.
Right.
Pitchers can't get as many strikeouts or whatever, because they're not they're not throwing as many innings. Hitters are getting platooned in and out. You got everything is sort of it's situational. Which is what we talked about the rule changes last year about they're into shifts, and they're into the pitching changes, and they're into all these different things that have sort of slowed the game down. And now you're looking at a team that's sort of built itself on this recipe or this formula that they put together with analytics and trying to stay strong financially. I would say, they don't want to go overspend on somebody who may not be there for them, but they've got depth and youth on their side, and now they're producing at a very, very high level. Obviously you played the game, so you can understand what they're doing is pretty impressive.
Yeah, if you're talking about getting close to breaking a baseball record, and that's hard to do. No
doubt about that. And so if the Rays can continue on this path, you get a jump start on let's say just for argument's sake, we're sitting here a week from now and they're 16-1 or whatever, something along those lines. You're now so far. It's such a big advantage.
There's no doubt because you're almost guaranteed you're going to make the playoffs.
You can go 500 the rest of the year, and you almost got 100 wins.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing that this kind of a winning streak
and
can
also
do for
when
them.
you got something like that going, let's say they win tonight and you got something like that going. I think a lot of times there's so many baseball games and they play so many games. It's almost like as a player, like if you lose one, you lose one. You're supposed to lose 20 or 30 or how many you're supposed to.
Well, how many times do you see it? You see a baseball game and all of a sudden the left fielder's pitching because you're like, okay, this is one we can give up. What are we going to do here?
That's what I'm saying. Like, so I think with that going on, you get a little bit more buy-in for every single game and trying to do well every game.
Right. No, so. I again, the enthusiasm of the team.
I bet they're going to sell a lot more tickets too.
Well, that's the thing now, because you start doing something historic, people want to see it.
Right.
You want to be there for it. That's an argument about the idea about a stadium. And if you build a stadium, will people come? The answer is no.
Right.
Okay, because if they'll come as a novelty initially, but if the team is not something they want to go see, it doesn't really matter.
Unless you got someone playing they want to see, or the team's doing something special. Right.
And so I think this is a situation now where they can really, really, really cash in on some stuff. And if they can maintain this, look, if they can hang another banner, American League Championship, and if they could win a World Series, what a boost for the team, the stadium issues that they're going through right now. Everything they're trying to figure out, I think the boost would be just a tremendous boost.
Right.
But all along, that's been the answer. All along, it's been put a team together. Now you like the guys, like the first two guys are the notable players of Wander Franco and Randy Arozarena. It's not one guy. Those are the two guys I mentioned. There's more guys than that to go see. The pitching staff is phenomenal, but those two guys in particular, they're long haul kind of guys. They're going to be around for a while.
Right.
So if you know that, that's when you start buying those. Those.
And it's going to be AC'd. I can't say. I mean, you can't get better than that.
Well, I'll tell you this. The environment in the state in a domed stadium, there's something to that. There's not a lot of them anymore, and so I think that currently they're probably seeing a pretty big boost for the early season tickets because people like to get out there early. You still have a lot of snowbirds that are down.
It's probably not good if you're scared of COVID.
Well, that is true.
But it's really good if you don't like to be in the 150-degree heat.
Listen,
because it's really hot in a baseball stadium when you're sitting next to all those people.
And there's again, it gets very stagnant. Even for the idea of being a player in that environment. And I know that there were times over the years where the turf wasn't really good or whatever, but I can't imagine that you pull up to the stadium for a 7:00 game, and let's say it's 3 or 2:30, right? And you get out of your car, your Mercedes or your Lamborghini or whatever you're driving to the stadium, and you look at it and you say, oh my God, it's like 1,000 degrees out here.
Right.
What if I was playing in long pants and I'm all geared up or whatever else at 7:00, and right after there's a thunderstorm at 5:30, and now I'm dealing with that level of humidity and then bugs and moths and whatever else is going on. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that, and I think that looking at looking down the road, they're going to have to consider how they build that stadium for convenience.
You couldn't pay me to go see a game at this time of year outside.
Yeah.
I don't care if it was midnight.
Yeah, it's tough.
You couldn't pay me to go watch a game.
It's tough. And listen, it's tough. It's tough from now up, but I'll give you June to about mid-October, and that's the bulk of the baseball season.
Right.
There were the concept that got shot down with the Rays.
Mid-October.
Yeah.
Well, no, November some.
Right.
I mean,
Like I'm saying,
it's
it's
90
the
degrees
entirety. It's
sometimes.
the entirety of the baseball season
Yeah.
in some ways. But you talk about again the idea of the Rays looking for some place else to go when they had the idea about split season with Montreal. They're going to split the season. Really, what they were saying is like it's too hot. Let's go to Canada, and we can it'll be something different, and they'll have two cities rooting for them. Conceptually, they weren't saying let's play baseball in Tampa outside in July. They were saying let's go play baseball outside in Montreal in July, and so that's an issue going down the road. So I think us, the ones of us that have been here the longest understand the beauty of the idea that you can go inside and be air conditioned and watch a baseball game.
It's wonderful.
No doubt. So again, the Rays are off to a historic start. We'll keep our eye on that in regards to our little state segment here, and we'll figure that they're going to be something to talk about for a while. I'll even say this, not for knocking on wood, but even if they were to take a little bit of a nosedive, it's still a story, because now what they've done, the start is just so big. Now everything they do will be sort of under a microscope or under the lights from this point forward. So with that, we'll take a break here again, and we'll come back with our national segment. We'll have a little thing to talk about. We mentioned earlier the Masters. We'll talk about a little postscript to what happened there, and a little talk about LIV Golf and PGA Tour as well with that. With that, we'll be back here at Douglas Jeep after our next break.
It's time to put some spring in your step during Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram Spring Sell-Down Event. Drive a new Jeep Grand Cherokee from only $279 per month during the Jeep Celebration Event. Or choose a new Wagoneer from $549 per month. Or get behind the wheel of a new Ram 1500 Quad Cab from only $359 per month during the Ram Truck Month. Don't miss the Spring Sell-Down Sales Event going on now at Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice. Who has Spring Sell-Down savings? Douglas does!
Welcome back to 941 Sports Zone here at Douglas Jeep, and brought to you by Vibrant Aspect Media. Appreciate Josh and Francis being here, taking care of our how well we sound and look and lighting us the right way.
They help the way we look.
Yeah,
I mean, they can help the way we sound.
It is what it is. We rolled in and put a headset on, and we go from there.
Not much help in the way we look.
All right, let's go national with our national segment here. Kind of just wanted to start off going over the Masters results. The biggest thing going on out there was, of course, the Masters last weekend.
You made people some money.
Hopefully they listen to me.
You made some people some money. I
do know a little bit about the golf, so there's something about that I just, like I said, going back to what I said earlier, just felt that Jon Rahm was just that's the tournament that he was built to win. Guy hits the ball 360 off the tee. He hits his irons a ton. You're talking about that golf course where you have some par fours that are 500
one
yards.
thing I never saw either, first time I saw this watching the Masters, is the 18th hole. Mm-hmm. He had to hit a provisional.
Yes.
Now, did he play his provisional?
No, he didn't.
He found the ball. It was like right in the middle of the course, wasn't it?
I think what happened was that he had, I guess the part of the assumption was the ball went into the woods and nobody saw it, but then all of a sudden somebody did see it. So I think just to be on the safe side, rather than having to walk all the way back and hit another ball, if that was the case, he had a provisional, and just to be on the safe side.
I never saw it. I thought that was something.
No,
I thought that was something I do usually. Like, I'm going to hit another ball because my ball's so far in the woods.
Mulligans and provisionals are two different things. So a mulligan is what you do when you're playing with your buddies.
I know that. Yeah. I know that. But I also say I'm going to hit a provisional just in case I can't find the one I just hit.
I promise you this. You see it a lot on the golf courses with members that are out there, because somebody hits one in there and they're like, there's nobody hawking it down for you. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you hit one and you're like, I'm going to try to find it, but I don't have a group of 20 volunteers and fans blocking the ball from going up.
If it was way deep in the woods and it was going to be like 2 shots to get it out of the woods,
he would just take an unplayable and go back to the tee and hit his third shot.
Even if they knew where the ball was?
Here's what it is. He can, like, again, they would have figured out where he could have dropped from, but you are allowed to go and just take another shot from the tee. It's just a stroke penalty. Stroke penalty. And so, and at that time, being with a 4-shot lead going into 18, while you don't ever want to hit the ball that poorly, he had a little room to wiggle. He wasn't freaking out. That's for sure.
Well, we hit it in. He said, "I want to hit a provisional." I said, "Well, I can play with this guy. He's pitting provisionals. Like that's what I do."
So yeah, and it was how he began and ended the tournament was really novel. I mean, he starts out the first hole of the first day. double bogey,
Double
four
bogey.
putt, which is not something that you see a guy do very often. Is four putt.
I do that very often.
Yeah, that's again. They go back to the members, and you'll see a lot of four putting. And then he four putted for a double, and then shot 9 under the next 17 holes, and then played basically flawless golf on the back nine. When you got a lead or get a lead at the Masters, you're trying to make sure that you minimize the damage. You don't want to on some of the holes where you can make up ground with some of the par fives. You can make some shots and
Right.
you go for some pins, but if you're not necessarily needing to do that, then you don't want to. He did everything just right, and he yanks that ball left, and it kicks out perfectly in the middle of the. It didn't make the fairway. It was in the rough, but a shot like that for him was just nothing but a little cut.
Well, yeah, he had
Iron,
a
and then-
4-stroke lead. He could have done whatever he wanted to. That
It was nice to
hole.
see him kind of regain his composure and then make the par on the hole too, because
Right.
that's a world class par right
Yeah.
there. So especially on that hole, the way it's playing. So again, Jon Rahm was the winner. We did mention obviously the guys on LIV who played really well: Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed as the top 3 guys from there. But as a whole, the tournament itself was really had a lot of storylines. I'm not sure if you saw the Tiger Woods issue. Obviously, Tiger makes the cut, which is phenomenal for him. With the conditions he was dealing with, his own body being one of them and the weather being the other, he just looked like he looked beat up, obviously, and he's definitely beat up. But to see him try to play that third round in that wind and that rain, and then they called it, I didn't think he was going to make it back out. Just too much for his body to take to go up and down those
I
hills.
still think he's going to win another Masters before he's done.
Well, see, here's what it is. He's got it. It's for him. He's so talented
Right.
that lightning in a bottle is always around the corner with him. That tournament in particular, let's say it was 85 the entire weekend, and he didn't have no humidity, whatever, and he walked around and he didn't have any issues as far as having a bad day of any type. He can go around and shoot 68 3 times and then put up a 70 and walk away with a tournament.
Well, he's young enough too. I mean, I know he's not super young, but he's young enough too where, those injuries are going to, start getting farther. He's going to start feeling better and better from those injuries too.
Well, I will tell you this: he's a few years away, but on the senior tour, which starts at 50, he's going to play, and he can ride in a cart. So they'll probably figure out a way to get him in a cart so he can play, and then that'll sharpen his game a little bit too. He'll have less golf fatigue as well. So we'll see. I mean, it was a good story. He's become sort of the patriarch of the younger PGA guys. Guy who was very sort of close quarters, didn't want people around him when he was younger, other than his dad and his team, whoever you want to be. He's become sort of the guy that's sort of mentor to a lot of these guys, which is dramatic change. I was never a Tiger Woods fan, never. I didn't like the way he came out early in his career and made some really, really idiotic statements, and you could see he did some things that just didn't really sit well with me as a person. But he seems to have, at least on the golf course, at least, become more of a likable, more of a likable person. So again, a big win for Jon Rahm. Puts him in another category. He's the first European player to win the U.S. Open and the Masters.
I thought he was from Spain.
He's European, Spain.
Is that
yeah.
All right.
It's categorized as European. Yeah. So anyway, so he ended up because they've other players have won Masters and Open championships or PGA, but never the U.S. Open and the Masters together. So he was the first person to do that as well. So another huge accomplishment for him. And he's got 4 wins this year. That's a lot because I think 5 has been the most in the last few years. And anybody who usually wins 5 in a year is the player of the year. So he's got a long way to go to win 1 more. And the way he's playing, I could see him win 4 more if that's the case. With that, we talked a little about LIV. You mentioned the LIV guys making it interesting. And there was a bit of a discussion amongst my group of friends, golfers, whatever you want to call it, as to what they perceived, what they liked or disliked, or who disliked about LIV Golf. Now, do you have an opinion in particular? Like, the guys who went there and they cashed in $200 million for Dustin Johnson, or for Phil Mickelson, $150 for Dustin Johnson. Do you have an issue with them, or what do you stand on?
Well,
that?
Yeah. I don't particularly like it. I think that it was, you're getting paid by Saudi
Saudis.
Arabia.
Yeah.
So, and,
Right.
you know, like, I think that's a bad deal. I don't agree with it.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think somebody was calling it, all they're doing is being capitalist? It's capitalism at its finest. I don't necessarily agree with that. Do you see it as pure capitalism, saying, hey, you know what? I'm getting the best deal here. I'm going to go make my family $200 million, and it's
At the price of what, though?
well, this is where I would tell you this. I don't think it's capitalism in the true sense of it. I think what happens is that you're looking at, if you're looking at the top 6 players that went from the PGA Tour. Let's say it's Phil, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, all those guys who made, 9 figures to go play out there. They were sort of like the lead dogs in a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme.
Right.
You go out there and we're buying your loyalty. Now, don't forget, there's 6 of those guys. Maybe there's 10 of them. Cameron Smith, another guy who's a big name. Let's say 10 of them. There's also 44 other guys who play on that tour. Okay, they're not getting $100 million every one of them. Okay, those guys are to try to lure them in, and these guys that are coming in to live, they're signing contracts. They're getting some guaranteed money. Don't get me wrong. There's guys that made some life-changing money, but the idea is that it's not everybody's in the same boat, and they're forgetting what they did. They signed a contract with a very, very shady, let's say, but they have some real issues as far as what they're about, as far as their culture is concerned. And so you do that, and there is no wiggle room on this. You realize that they're not going back to the PGA Tour. I mean,
I think if Phil Mickelson came and said, you know what, I made a mistake. I want to be back in. I made a mistake. It was a lack of judgment. Let me back in. I think they let him back in.
Well, here's the thing. If Phil signed a contract with LIV, for him to leave his LIV
he's
contract,
got to pay him back, right?
Like triple what they gave him. I mean, there's something. Again, the contracts in particular that they signed, even some of the players early on didn't really know too much about it. And my problem was, I think that while it looked like it as an alternative tour that's going to give you all the same, afford you to sell the same ability to sell yourself as far as an advertiser, it did nothing. They lost all their advertisers. They lost all their money outside of golf. And so now, grant you, the money's in the bank or whatever. I don't know how they're getting paid, if they got the whole $200 million up front, if Phil did or whatever, or if they got so much per year. But either way, they're guaranteed that money as long as they perform at a certain level. What happens if you get hurt? What happens if, a myriad of things that happen to golfers. Right now, Rory McIlroy, he's not playing very well. He backed out of this tournament coming up this weekend. What if somebody wants to back out of a tournament? I don't know how people are going to react to that, especially since they're not really performing very well on TV, and they're not really performing well in just the general public opinion scenario.
Right.
So what do you do? I mean, again, I would be afraid. Okay, not from the respect. I just think that those guys who took the $150 million, $200 million payoffs had that earning potential without going there. So to me, I don't see the benefit of it. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Or
they just took the guaranteed money.
So to me, that tells me that they don't want to. So they go to LIV.
Well, who came in second with
Koepka.
Well, Koepka said it. He said, I didn't trust. I was going in these PGA Tours. I wasn't making the cut. Some of them I was spending this much money going there. Wasn't making the cut. He said, I didn't trust myself.
Well, he also said he didn't think physically he was going to be able to do it for very much longer. He was in that sort of doldrum. So there you go. So you've taken it in that situation, and even with Phil Mickelson. I mean, it's documented that Phil Mickelson is a notorious gambler. Now they're saying that what happened with him in regards to going to LIV and some of his issues with the PGA Tours, he needed more money because he had some gambling debts he had to take care of. That's rumored out there that was the case. So these guys that
he must be playing golf with Jordan.
Well, listen, If he was, I think he probably took Mike for some money because Mike lost lots of money on the golf course.
Well, I mean, they played with their handicap though.
Well, again, Mike, like according
And Jordan built a course to suit him.
and don't forget when he was younger, when he had some, there was a point where they said he had $5-6 million worth of like weekend golf bets that he was owed to people. Now he had the money, trust me, there wasn't a problem, but he liked to gamble on the golf course. And I think a lot of those guys do. I mean, why would you not? It keeps it, keeps
Right.
it a little fresh. They're having a little something online. But again, going back to what I was saying, Koepka wasn't playing as well as he had. He did sort of pick it up here recently. Phil was playing like poop for the last, last couple months. And all of a sudden now something's on the line. And what do you know? Those competitive juices start to flow. And all of a sudden you're making shots,
Right.
And I think that's the real, looking at it now, some people who are LIV proponents are going to say, well, look, they're out there playing their 14 tournaments in shorts and rock music playing and it's all good. And they can go out and compete in the Masters. And I'd say, well, why are they playing like crap on your tour? Because it doesn't really matter to them. So you've hired a bunch of unmotivated multi-millionaires to be the spotlight of your tour.
Are there purses in the LIV tournaments?
There is, and they're hot, and they're boosted. PGA are starting to match that, and everybody makes the cut. So there is everybody whoever when you start on Friday, which is they only play 54 holes, you're guaranteed to make money,
Right.
and then you make money from individual score and then your team concept. I don't know if you noticed some weird looking sort of emblems on their shirts for the LIV guys, but that's their team emblem, like the aces and the this and that's whatever they call themselves, and so they were wearing their gear from LIV that they would wear on the LIV tour because they really don't have any sponsors left. The sponsors are like, peace, we're out. Maybe the club manufacturers, but as far as the Goldman Sachs and
Right.
all those guys, it's gone. So anyway, I mean, it's going to be an interesting look. There's a lot of arguments both ways. I think that I don't think it boded well from my perspective, a golf fan's perspective, to see them play well when they haven't played well
Yeah.
on their own tour.
Yeah.
And so we'll see where that runs to and what
Something
happens
else
with it.
interesting came out today. The UCF baseball coach was accused by a former player of
Loading the bat.
corking or loading or doctoring the bats.
Mm-hmm.
And so the player said, the first 20 games this was happening, and those first 20 games they were 15-5, and then after that they stopped, and
Right.
the next 12 they were 2-10.
Right.
So
Right. So that's when you see something like that, you almost guarantee that something was going on.
I mean, how do you doctor you stuff them with tennis balls?
Well, I don't know. I guess you would but that's I've heard that's what aluminum bat you can do with that, and it gets more spring out of the bat.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I guess to each his own. But I don't know. I mean, if it made that much of a difference, maybe that's amazing to me that it could make that much of a difference. But if that's the look of it, and that you've got.
And I tell you what, if they're doing it, there's going to be other people doing it.
Well, you know what? That's going to be the thing now, because remember there was a while there when you had the Sammy Sosa back in the day with the cork bats. It became a thing. There people were like, check his bat, check his bat, check his bat. Even with
They're
pitchers.
X-raying the bats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had the pitchers having a little issue with doctoring the ball up a little bit as well. So there's always, baseball has those ebbs and flows, and if one guy's doing it, then probably somebody else is doing it. You're 100% right. Real quick too, I wanted to mention we haven't talked too much NBA, but there's this is the second year they've done this where they have the play-in tournament. In both the Eastern and Western Conference, the 7-seeded team and the 8-seeded team play each other, and the 9 and the 10 play each other. So what happens is if the 7 and the 8 winner automatically becomes the 7 seed, and they're in. The loser of the 7-8 plays the winner of the 9-10 game, and then that team becomes the 8th seed. Do you like that, or do you just think you should be do you have 8 teams and you just go from there?
I think you have 8 teams. I think that's just a way to create more games and create more revenue. And no, I think you play the regular season, and that's where you end up.
Well, it's a trend though with a lot of sports where they're adding more playoff games. I mean, the NFL put an extra wild card team in there. You get 2 teams get a bye kind of thing, and then you have in baseball you have the wild card situation, which was never the case. So heck, back in the day, you had 4 divisions, and the 4 division winners.
The whole,
that was it.
Everyone's a winner,
Yeah, but I do think you're right about one thing too. So you have contracts with networks and whatnot.
Right.
If you can have, and I think the NBA sort of took the play-in game from the NCAA tournament. They saw this idea where maybe there's a hot team that's just kind of not there, or whatever, and they couldn't get back into it. Gives them a chance to maybe make a run. I'm sure at some point in time we'll hear a 10 seed and the NBA made it to the finals. Because something like that happened. But for me in particular, I don't think it adds much. It's a little confusing when you look at it from that perspective. It was supposed to be put in there so you had less teams tanking. So I don't know how you feel about tanking, because they wanted, heck, I'll get more ping pong balls in the hopper if I blow the last end of the season. I'm not going to put guys out there to play.
Oh, I gotcha.
So you have to play for something,
right?
As opposed to now then you have half the league saying, I'm going to bench my players because there's 15 games left in the season or 20 games left in the season, and half the teams are like, I'm sitting my starter because he's not going to get hurt in some game doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'm going to get the next LeBron, right?
Right, and Mark Cuban, the owner of the Mavericks, has gotten in trouble for a lot of stuff as an owner. He likes to call out referees and gets fined for that habitually. He had made some overtones or some comments to a reporter one time about how he was interested in a free agent when he couldn't talk about that kind of stuff. And now he basically said, look, why wouldn't I tank? Why would I not?
Right.
I'll pay the fine, but that means I can get.
Why should there be a fine?
Again, it's the competitive nature. They want if you're
competitive nature. Well, he's trying to compete for next year.
If Jon Peacock is the Los Angeles Lakers general manager or owner for that matter, and you're looking down the road, you say, look, I got LeBron, I got Anthony Davis. I don't want them hurt. This is stupid to even try to get in the playoffs at this point. And you say, LeBron, take a seat for the next 15 games. You've earned it. Anthony Davis, you're hurt all the time. Same thing for you. But yet you're going to go to Memphis to play, or you're going to go to Denver to play, or you're going to go to Portland to play. And all those people have those tickets in their hand. They bought, beginning of the year because they wanted to see LeBron and Anthony Davis play. There's some angry fans at some of these games, and even some at home as well. If 20% of your season you don't get to see the star player because he chooses not to start him or not play, that can be a fan base issue at that point.
I just think if you're doing it to make your team better, I think you have every right to do that. Yeah,
I mean, me too. But and again, the money if let's say there is a fine or something that goes along with it, I think sometimes it might be worth the money just to say, hey, let's keep it safe. And
bottom line, they're going to do what's best for their organization.
I would think absolutely.
Yeah.
You know that because you have to make decisions like that. You say, hey, I got it's what's best for us kind of situation. So you have to be that way with those things. All right, with that, we'll take a break again here, and we'll come back to Douglas Jeep for our What's Bugging Me segment, and then our predictions as well for this week as well. So back here shortly, and we'll be seeing what comes out of each one of our thought patterns as far as what's bugging us. See you back here in a little bit.
It's time to put some spring in your step during Douglas Jeep Price or Dodge Ram Spring Sell-Down Event. Drive a new Jeep Grand Cherokee from only $279 per month during the Jeep Celebration Event. Or choose a new Wagoneer from $549 per month. Or get behind the wheel of a new Ram 1500 Quad Cab from only $359 per month during the Ram Truck Month. Don't miss the Spring Sell-Down Sales Event going on now at Douglas Jeep Price or Dodge Ram in Venice. Who has Spring Sell-Down savings? Douglas does!
And welcome back to our final segment of the night on 941 Sports Zone, brought to you by Vibrant Aspect Media. Josh and Francis doing some fancy stuff with us here tonight.
We haven't got our pest control company yet.
I know.
We'll
get
it. We're going to get it.
We'll be all spotting bugs and spraying bugs and all kinds of good stuff for our What Bugs Me segment. With that, do you want to go first on the Bug Me segment, or you want me to go first?
You go first.
All right. So I kind of gave you a little hint about something earlier. We talked about the cost of golf. And stuff around town or whatever, wherever you may be. So what's bugging me is not so much that there is cost-related issues. You know, obviously the things are going up, like everything else in the world. Things are going up, but how and especially the last couple of years has been sort of. And this is a little local in my what's bugging me thing situation here, is that there's a lot less understanding of what it is to be a member of the community in and around some of these golf course communities, and golf courses in particular. Okay, you live in a beautiful place. It's a fantastic place to live, and you're asked to do some things from a charitable perspective in some cases. We mentioned earlier that the Little League is having a tournament. Okay, we mentioned the price of that and everything. It just seems as though that there is a resistance to want to be charitable. Okay, there's a resistance to want to work with people that have fantastic causes, be it helping kids be baseball players or football players or whatever it may be, to all kinds of different stuff. And I think that the idea now is that it's turning into, let's put up walls and moats, and so nobody can see us, and we're gonna cater to the few that come down here for 4 months a year, cater to them and what they want and what they want to do, and just shut it down for everybody else, and let's not even get involved. It's too much for me to open my doors and be charitable. If you want to come over here, yeah, we'll let you come by, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to charge you what we charge Joe Blow from wherever who comes down in January. We're going to charge you the same price as that. And then we're gonna make it harder and harder for people that are living and working in this town, trying to do the right thing for, again, charitable situations, and they're just saying forget it. Now, is it all about is it local guy? No, I understand that corporations are involved in this stuff, and they're buying up properties all over the place, and they don't really care about what's happening in Venice or Inglewood or Charlotte or whatever it may be. But it's just disappointing to see how it's becoming more and more rampant.
Yeah.
I have a choice to go play golf and play golf and pay whatever I want to pay for it, and it's up to me if I want to do that or not. But I think with some of these places now, it's just becoming easier and easier and easier to turn a blind eye to the community, and I think it sucks. And I think that people ought to we reach in our pockets all the time for other things, and yet now we've got these places where they just want to, like I said, build walls. And they don't want to be bothered. They don't put in an ounce of effort to do anything unless it's going to line their pockets. And all you're doing is taking it out of the mouths of people who really need it. Right. And you're trying to do something. And I think it sucks.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is, 10 years ago, too many golf courses.
Right.
Now it's like not enough golf courses. And
everybody wants to say that they think that their, goat ranch is worthy of being paying so much, and so where else you going to go? What else you going to go do? Right. And from my perspective, I think it sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what's bugging me.
So what's bugging me is the turnover in my profession as a football coach in the state of Florida, and it's rampant, and it's it's either you're getting fired because of whatever reason, you're not meeting some expectation, or you're halfway decent at what you do, not necessarily great, but you're decent at what you're doing. And I'm talking you're 7-3 going to the second round of the playoffs, or you're maybe 9-3, mm-hmm. and you're going to Georgia and getting a job and making twice the amount of money with eighth of the responsibility. When I say eighth, I mean like you don't have the responsibility of teaching classes. You're going there to coach football. As of December, just in our state this year, in December 1st, 108 coaching changes in our state. 108.
That's crazy.
In our area, you have Lakewood Ranch, Palmetto, Sarasota, Braden Christian, Parish Community, just in our area.
Changed.
Yep. One that stands out to me is Max Edwards, Miami Northwestern.
Okay.
Fired.
Mm-hmm. I heard about this.
He's been at Miami Northwestern for 8 years. Miami Northwestern before had good years, there's no doubt. But in 8 years, he's won 3 state championships. The last 2 years, he's been in the semifinals.
Right.
The last 3 years, he's lost to the eventual state champion, lost to American Heritage, lost to Jesuit, lost to Miami Central. So this guy is getting fired.
Yeah.
Because he's not producing on the football field.
He's not winning continual successive state championships.
So here's my look on things: is how many coaches are retiring? Not saying I'm done coaching. I've had enough. I'm sick of it. I'll just go be a teacher, or I'll go do something else.
Right.
Or I'm going to go to another state and get paid, or I'm getting fired. How many coaches can you think of that are just like, this is my career. I'm done. I'm retiring.
Had enough.
There's not many. Bill Castle comes to mind.
Yeah.
Joe Canan didn't even get to do that.
Nope. He did not.
Paul Meckley, yes.
And John Sprague.
I don't know. We need to have him on the show.
Okay.
There's rumor that that's not how it went down.
So, yeah, I mean, and the weird part about it, going back to the Northwestern scenario, I mean, you're talking about that level of success in that part
area
of the state
yes.
or the country, to have that level of success, okay, is ridiculous. Okay,
Yeah.
ridiculous. So you're looking at expectations that are so far out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
There's no chance
And-
to be successful with that criteria.
And so what you could see is in 7 years or 8 years from now, Miami Northwestern might be irrelevant. It might just be like a afterthought of like, remember how they used to be?
Yeah.
Well, look at Venice when, in the 80s, 33 game win streak, going to the semifinals,
Yeah.
very, very successful. And then all of a sudden there was a period there, 10 years.
I know.
There was a 33 losing game streak.
Yeah.
And they're making more money at the Powder Puff game than they were at the homecoming game.
Right.
No one remembers that now.
No.
That's totally out of everyone's thought.
Right.
Like that didn't happen.
There
like,
was the dark days. Yeah. for sure.
And then
yeah.
when I first started coaching here with Nick Coleman, like he's like, man, we haven't won a district game in like 10 years.
Right.
I was like, what? You haven't won a district game in 10 years? Like, no, we had a playoff, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it was just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, we won a state championship, and I'm thinking like, oh, we're gonna win a state championship every year. Like this is pretty easy,
Right.
and
So
then-
flip a switch.
yeah. But anyway, that's what's bugging me.
Well, I totally see what you're saying, because there are times that you wonder, for all the things you have to do, there's academics, there's discipline,
Yes.
there's everything else that goes along with that outside of wins and losses.
You're getting paid $3,000.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And-
Anyway, that's bugging me.
And then, but going back all that stuff, you're right. Then the criteria is that you have all the other things to have to mind and take care of, and then you don't win consecutive state championships, and that's what you get fired over. And
he just won in 2019.
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what is it? I would be like, I said my exit interview would be like, just tell me what I needed to. What was actually my goal here? What was I supposed to do?
So they'd say you had to beat Miami Central, who was national champions this past year.
So what happens to the Miami Central coach when he loses 2 in a row to Miami Northwestern? Does he get fired too?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
There it is. So, yeah, that's a good one. I like that. What's bugging me. So again, that's what's bugging us this week. And now we go into our predictions. Do you have a prediction?
I made
first?
mine. I'm going Gulf Coast district champ, Cardamooney district champ, Palm Harbor district champ. You got to go to the game. bet somebody a Coke, T-shirt, whatever.
My prediction is a little bit down the road, not a long way, but it has something to do with the NFL draft. So I think that while this has been an interesting offseason, I think that quarterbacks in the NFL have become so important. And it has to be something that is worked on and put together and fixed immediately, because it just doesn't seem like if you don't have the right guy, you're not going to win. My prediction is that 4 quarterbacks will be taken in the first 10 picks of this year's NFL draft.
I agree with you.
So I think, and I know there's.
You know what else is crazy? One of them is going to be Richardson.
Listen, but I'll tell you this. Okay, I'm a channel surfer. I watch certain things. I'll peek the NFL Network here and there, and I get stuck watching those crawls. I'm like, there's a crawl. I'm watching the crawl, and it says so and so's top 5 rated quarterbacks. Richardson's not even in the top 5 on the NFL Network, but he'll still get drafted in the first round or in the first 10 picks. They got some guy from Stanford. I don't even know who he is. And another, I'm like, really? That guy, those 2 guys are better than Richardson? I didn't see it. I don't know about him, but maybe they are. If that's the case, and he's the 6th quarterback, we might have 7 quarterbacks in the whole first round.
Who knows?
I mean, at this point now, it's become something that's just and here's what it is: you get drafted, they put you in, they throw you to the Lions. If you get your head kicked in like Tua did down in Miami, and what do you know? At the end of the day, he ended up getting through it all. Still not sure he's 100% the guy yet, but he gets through it. Every guy: Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. They're going to come in. They're not going to get a lot of chance to sit there and watch much, and they're going to get put in there, and it's going to be swim or die, and that's what's going to happen. So my prediction is 4 QBs in the first 10 picks of the first round of the NFL draft this year, which is coming up end of the month. So it's not too far away.
Yeah.
With that, I think we're done for tonight. I'd like to thank again Douglas Jeep for hosting us here at 941 Sports Zone. And again, thanks to the guys who power us every week, Vibrant Aspect Media, Josh and Francis, thank you guys as well. And thank you for watching us this week. Hopefully you enjoy what we have to say and come back and see us again next week. With that, have a good evening, and we'll talk to you soon. See you later.